Hey guys, it is Ashley at Charlie Rose Creations. I make and sell glitter tumblers. In case you've never watched any of my lives before, I think I'm on time today. Let's see. I am only 2 minutes late, which is like a personal record for me. All right, so I make and sell glitter tumblers, so that's what I do. And so I get this question all the time: why do you paint your tumblers? When do you paint your tumblers? And all of that. So, oh, Amy, thank you. I was messing around with it today. Usually don't like to curl it. I like it curled. I don't like to curl it because it takes a lot of time, and usually I don't have a whole lot of time to do that. So, yeah, so I get asked all the time about when and why to paint tumblers. And so I thought I'd kind of show you why it's important to paint them, and then why sometimes you don't necessarily have to paint them. Because I don't paint every single one of mine, because again, I don't have time for that. I know lots of people do paint theirs all the time, and they'll do a base coat of whatever color they're doing. That's not me, because I don't like to paint them, and I still do 2 layers of glitter anyway, so it wouldn't change what I do. So, hi guys. So when you come on, tell me hey. Oh, Lisa, you're so sweet. Thank you. Mariva, thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. So I'm not quite like super ready, but whatever. All right, so here is my Mod Podge. I use the hard coat kind. That's the purple label. You don't have to though. You can use, I mean, pretty much all Mod Podges work the exact same. So that's totally fine. All right, so I have a couple of tumblers here that I painted today. But you'll notice I didn't paint all the way to the bottom. The reason why is because the color on top is either white or some other super light color that needs, why does it look so dark? There we go. That needs this base coat to help it really, really pop. And then what's the bottom on here? The bottom on this one is like a green turquoise. Those are metallic colors. They're not see-through at all. They don't need a base coat ever. I usually don't sand them before I start, but you certainly can. All right, so that one's white and like a turquoisey green color, and this one is yellow. Okay, so this one is gonna be yellow, green, and purple. And so I really didn't have to paint down as far as I did here. I went all the way down, but sometimes when I'm out there painting, I kind of forget what the cup is or like what the colors are. So sometimes I paint more than I need to. But this really only needs paint for the top because the top is yellow. And so even though, I think I'm gonna use this one. So even though this is a fairly dark yellow when you look at it in this jar, it's not gonna be so much if you put it on a stainless base. So I'm gonna do this one over here and kind of show you what it'll look like. This is gonna be a white to like green. Why is this? I'm struggling today. Yeah, white and green. We'll do green. Rosemary, no. As long as your green is not a translucent green. That makes sense. So if you're buying from a supplier and they say that it's iridescent, that means essentially it's pretty translucent and you're probably going to need a base coat. If they say it's metallic, you probably don't need a base coat. All right, so I'm doing white on top. Shauna. Okay. Laura Lynn, yes. So basically, and I've said this before, but yes, basically I do paint a base coat of white for anything that's white or a light colored glitter. That's what I do. It's not tricky. It's pretty much white is the only color I do. So I keep it pretty simple for myself. So I'm going to show you what the white looks like when you put it on a white base. And then I've got a spare tumbler over here. I'm going to paint a little bit of white on that so you can see what it looks like if you don't put it on a white base. Okay, so I did this like row right here. I don't know if you can see it because I'm kind of far away. Let me come a little closer. I did it right here, and then when I go to do the ombre part, I still do it on the same, I'm still pouring it on the same section, but I'm kind of letting it fall. That's how you get that ombre effect. Can you see that where I'm at? I feel like my tripod's looking a little funny. And then I go over I do the top part, like I start up where some of the blue-green color already is for ombre. All right, and when I'm doing white, I never shake the tumbler on top of this plate because it's gonna, that other color is gonna come off on it. There we go. You see that? All right, so this is what white looks like. You can see, right? Maybe that may be too bright. It's super white. All right, so I'm going to put this up and I'm going to show you what white looks like not on a white background. Oh, I got teal in here. Sorry, you guys, I have to find a little cup to put this in. It had teal in it, and I didn't want to put it back in the jar. All right, so here's just a plain stainless one. All right. So I'm not going to paint the whole thing because then I can wash it off, and I just don't want to paint the whole thing. But I'm going to do a pretty good section of it so you can kind of see what it's going to look like with the white on it. And this just should visually show you why it is so important to paint when you're doing white or light colors. And that still looks really white on here, but when it dries, it's not going to be. And it's not as white as this other one that I have. So I'm going to let that dry for a hot minute. Let's sit over there. Let me get this other one too so you can see. All right. So I don't know if you can see the difference there. This is on a white base. This is not. I mean, this is still pretty. Like, don't get me wrong, because it's a gorgeous glitter and it's super pretty. But here's a white. Here's a stainless base. So one of the things that's really, really important, it's totally fine if you want to put your glitter on a stainless base if it's an iridescent glitter. That is so fine. But you just need to know that it may not show up as well. So like this is still super pretty. Now when I wipe it off after it dries, it is going to be a little bit less of a difference, but there you go. Just so you can see. And these are the exact same glitters. It's the exact same thing. So, so just be aware of that. Because, I mean, this is still very pretty. It's more of like a... Oh, I touched it. It's more of like a pearly color, I guess. Like it's more... Does that make sense? Like it's like an off-whitey pearly color. Which has its usefulness as... Is that a word? It's uses, I guess. It's uses too. Like it's still good. And so the thing that's really fun, this is when you can have a lot of different things you can do, so to speak, is if you want to do a different base coat. So if you want to try something different, you could always do a pink spray painted base and then put your glitter over it, and it'll change the entire look of your glitter. So you could get multiple different colors or multiple different looks out of one glitter color, which is really, really neat. Which is the whole reason of why I came on here, because I get asked this all the time. So I think somebody asked earlier, like what spray paint I use, and I always use the same kind. I've got an example right here. Now this one is a colored one. It's a color instead. Oh, that is super bright on my face. Instead of a white one. But this is what mine looks like. This is the only kind I use. And again, this is personal preference. Like Krylon is another brand. You can do a lot of different things. You know, whatever. But I like the Rust-Oleum 2X. And I've tried so many other different ones. So, all right, so Lori's asking, I've done lots of lives on epoxy, whether or not it's safe to do in the house or not. Here is how I view it at my house. I do it in my house. I don't let my kids come in here just because there's glitter everywhere. I don't want them getting into epoxy because that's not cool. Or I've got acetone. So this is not a kid's space. They don't come in here. But the epoxy that I have is low VOC. It's just like paint that you have. Most paints that you buy now are low VOC. And so they're supposed to be much safer in your home. And Fran, that's another option too. So Fran is saying that she paints her tumblers the color of the glitter that she's going to use. I mostly don't do that because of time. It is very, very time consuming. And I didn't notice too much, personally didn't notice a great deal of difference. I do 2 coats anyway. And so that's another thing for you to play around with. Like maybe that's for you. And that's what I love about this is everybody can do it different and still get beautiful results. Oh, Sarah. Oh, yeah. Well, I did curl my hair a smidge because I was feeling like, let's try. And then I have on regular makeup. So, let's see what other questions. I'm not doing a whole lot today because I got to be honest, you guys. Like, I almost fell asleep on the couch. I have just been crazy tired today. To remove Mod Podge and glitter, soak it in hot water. We'll get it off. Yeah, don't spray paint in your bathroom. That's not safe. So I spray paint outside, and yeah, not super safe. Okay, so I think y'all, seriously, I think that's it for today. I'm sorry. Unless you have other questions, please ask them now before I'm just like, okay, bye, see you later. I haven't done glow in the dark glitter yet, or glow in the dark tumbler, because it hasn't been requested and I haven't played around with it before. Arlene, yay, Arlene tried her first ombre today. I hope it went okay. So just for those people who maybe didn't see, so I'm going to use this cup as an example. So if I'm ombreing this right here, I'm going to Mod Podge the entire thing. And then I'm going to do a line right here of full glitter. Then I tilt it about like this. And I continue to pour the glitter here where I've already done that line and let it fall this way. You want it to fall. When it falls and there's a bunch of space missing, that's when you get that ombre effect. If you do it like straight like this, you're going to get a line, which is not an ombre effect. That I don't know what you would call that. A line is what you'd call it. Leslie, I will check my email. Kelsey, no, I haven't done the buffalo check one yet. I need to get on that. I need to do it, but I haven't done it yet. Crystal, I use epoxy to seal my tumblers. I don't seal them with anything else, usually. If I do need to seal it with a spray sealer first, I will use that same brand that I just showed for spray paint, which is Rust-Oleum 2X, and I'll use that to seal it. It's Rust-Oleum 2X clear acrylic sealer, something like that. Oh, Julie, thank you. I need to get better about doing it because I like it curled too. Y'all, I have super fine, super thin hair. And so I have like all the things. So I have no hair. And so it makes it, and you know, I'm in the South. And so when you got to have big hair when you live in the South, okay? And so I like it because it makes it look like I have more hair when I really, really don't. Megan, I do 2 layers of glitter. I a Mod Podge glitter, let that dry for around 30 to 45 minutes. And then come back, brush off any excess. Mod Podge glitter, let that dry, usually for several hours. Most of the time I'll let it dry overnight just because of the fact that I glitter at night because it's easiest for me since I have 2 young kids. And then I let that dry totally, brush off excess, and then seal it with epoxy. And I do 3 total layers of epoxy to get it smooth. Oh, Christina, thank you. That's a great compliment. That was something I always, like when I first started doing this, I was like, I'm going to be me. Whatever that looks like, whether or not people don't like it, I can only be me. So, can you touch up the middle of an ombre? You can. I've heard of people who use like, who'll spray a little bit of hairspray there if they need to touch it up. I have not personally done that, so I can't tell you if that works 100%, but you could try that for sure. Oh, Heather, we can't wait for you to be in the group. The bigger the hair, the closer to Jesus. That is the truth. And that is why my daughter wears big bows. They're like 6-inch bows. They're huge. The bigger the bow, the closer to Jesus. Should you always sand the cup after epoxy is dry? I feel like yes. The answer to that is yes. I only do that on the second layer of epoxy. I don't do it after the first. So after the second layer of epoxy is totally cured, I sand the top especially because it's going to be rough. And it's just, you're going to need to sand it. 3 layers of epoxy so that it can be totally smooth. It's usually really, really smooth after that second layer, but I add a decal and I want my decals sealed. And that's personal preference because I just like that. That's what I like. I feel like when you seal it, it just looks more finished. I don't know how to explain it. And so I always seal my decals. So that's why I do 3. Usually after the second coat though, it's usually pretty smooth. So, okay, any other questions? Y'all, I'm sorry, this is a shorty. It's a shorty. Y'all notice, and you may have noticed I didn't post today. I would like, y'all, my husband let me sleep in until 10. I slept until 10 today. 10 o'clock in the morning. He got up, got the kids breakfast, did all of that, and I slept forever. And then I woke up and I felt like I was hungover without the added benefit of having had any alcohol the night before. It was so weird. I just felt horrible, like headache and just grouch. Oh man, it's probably because we swapped our diet recently back to being healthy, and this is usually what happens. My body's like freaking out. Like, what are you doing? Why are you not giving me chocolate? What is happening? So Sylvia, yeah, I do 1 layer of epoxy after the decal. Kelly, any tips on getting wrinkles, not getting wrinkles in the decals? All right, so here's how I do my decals. I don't know how the best way to show you this. I'm going to show you with a paper towel what I'm talking about. So after I pull, this is like my transfer tape with the decal on it. So after I pull this up and it's got my decal on it, I make a little U and I kind of pull it like this. And then I usually have my tumbler on my legs and I'm sitting down, and I line it up as best I can before I touch anything. And then I only lay down the center line, and then I slowly keep this one here and I slowly work this side down, and then I do the other side. That usually just makes it so much easier to do decals. Do I still get wrinkles? Yes. And do you know what I do if I do that? I will take my X-Acto knife and I'll slice it where the wrinkle is, pull some back, lay it down, and then like make it so it goes over the wrinkled part. Doesn't happen very often, but sometimes I do have to do that. If it's really bad, I pull it up and redo it. Tara, have you ever had problems with decals lifting when you apply epoxy? Yes. So a lot of that is going to happen because it's not often that it happens for me, but sometimes it happens because I wasn't paying attention and the entire decal wasn't pushed down all the way. So you can make sure you clean your tumblers with alcohol before you add the decal. That's really going to clean the surface and really help it stick. You can also go over it with a heat gun so that it kind of just really activates that adhesive and gets it really on there. And if you really want to, you could always wait, like put the decal on, give it about 24 hours and wait, really let that stuff like adhere, and then do your epoxy. I usually can't do that because I'm usually like on a schedule, and so I can't just let mine wait. And if I get it where it lifts, 9 times out of 10 it's going to be over that curve of the 30-ounce hump part. That's just every time. I do, okay, so if I'm taping a tumbler, which most of the time I do, I tape it before I do anything to it, apply the glitter, do all of that, pull the tape, let the glitter dry. I reapply the tape a little bit below the glitter line. Then I do my first coat of epoxy. Usually after about 30 to 45 minutes, I pull the tape, clean it up, let that cure. Then when the second coat of epoxy needs to go on, I retape it. I retape it for every single layer. It is very time consuming, but I think it looks a lot better. But the whole purpose of me taping is so that that bottom part isn't epoxied, because if you drop it and it lands on that bottom part, it's more likely to crack. Now, could it still crack if you drop it? Yes, it's breakable. You have to treat it with care. So let's see. All right, so Katie asked about what I use to hold my phone. So I have 2 different tripods. One of them cost like a whack. No joke. I think I spent like $180 on it, and it's the one I don't love. So I'm a little irritated about that, but it serves its purpose. I don't like it if I'm doing lives. I don't like it that I have to move it. When I use it to film my tutorials for my group, because it can face down, it is perfection for that, and it's just the best for that purpose. I just don't like using it in my lives. This guy that I'm using right here, I have it somewhere on my page, and it's got a link for it and stuff. I'm fairly certain that this one has been added to, yes, Shauna has added that to my website. So if you're ever curious about anything that I use, 9 times out of 10 it's going to be on the website with a link, and all you got to do is click it. Shauna's added it to the website. It's under Ashley's Amazon favorites on there. Oh, Terry, I'm so glad that I could help. What type of turner? Okay, my processing time is 4 to 6 weeks. Here's why, and everybody may not agree with me on this, but I can probably get through the orders I have now well before 4 to 6 weeks if I worked all the time. But the thing is that the whole purpose of this job is so that I can make money while also staying home with my children. And so if I'm only working and never spending that time with my children, which is the whole purpose of the business and having it, then that's not the way I want it to go. So I do work a decent amount on weekends because that's when I have the most free time. And I work when my kids are at school, I work when they're napping, and I work when they're in bed. But when they're up, I'm not working. I'm with them. I may get in the group and like answer questions there, respond to emails or things like that, but I try to be there for them while they are awake because they're only going to be little for a very short amount of time, and it's going to be gone before I know it, and I'm going to miss it so much. So I say 4 to 6 weeks. That gives me plenty of time to get them out. Am I usually ahead of the schedule? Oh yes, usually way ahead. But I like to give myself that little bit of wiggle room. Like, what if one of them gets sick and like I can't do anything for several days because they just require so much attention? What if I get sick and I can't function? That has happened before. I threw my back out like a year ago. That wasn't fun. I was in bed for like 4 days. I could not move. So that's why I do 4 to 6 weeks. And I encourage you, if you do if you sell tumblers, to make sure you give yourself some wiggle room. But each cup usually takes about a week. Angie, I clean it up before the epoxy cures completely. I don't think I posted that video in the group. Pooh. Okay, so I'm going to do that when I get off here. But I made a little video where I use a little bit of acetone in a makeup sponge, and I soak that in acetone, and then I clean up anywhere that the epoxy has like come down and like where it seeped between where the tape met, because it's always going to do that. So that's how I get a good seal. I never have a broken seal there. Oh, Nikki, you're so sweet. Thank you. Sylvia, thank you. Karen asked, how long have I been making and why did I start making? So I have been making tumblers. Now remember, I wasn't very successful at the beginning, okay? Because I was just kind of like bumbling my way through it because like there weren't that many people that were doing it and there was no instructions. And so I was just trying to figure it out as I go. So anyway, I've been doing it about 2.5 years, and I got my silhouette because I needed something that was creative. I needed to do something creative. And a friend of mine from high school had gotten one for herself, and she had made a couple shirts. And I was like, yes, I can totally do this. I can make shirts for my kids. That was the only reason why I originally got it. And then I started playing around with it once I had it. And I was like, I bet I could sell stuff on this. And when I was thinking, I bet I could sell things, originally my thought was, well, let me just sell a few things so that maybe I can buy my kids like some special clothes. Like, my daughter, some smock dresses. Because if you have a girl and you buy smock dresses, like those cost a crazy amount of money. And that's just not something that's important for us to invest in. For us, if you do smock dresses all the time, like you go. You do you. And so we do have a few, but we don't have a ton of them. And so I was like, well, I can do that. And I can buy, make sure that Henry's got some really nice church clothes and like all that stuff. And so that's how it started. Just make a few dollars every month. That's really all I wanted. And so I started making other things, but none of it was really fun. My mom sent me a bajillion Pinterest pins trying to like, well, I bet you could do this and this and this. And so I sold a bunch of things. The first thing I sold was a Halloween bucket, some Halloween buckets. So I did a lot of things before that. And then I saw somebody spray painted a tumbler and I didn't like it when I was doing it. So I started trying to figure out how to do glitter. And that was, let's just say that was interesting. Yeah, Danielle, the light box is definitely so life-changing for your pictures. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh no, I never said that's, the shortest time I ever did was 2 to 3 weeks. And I always give myself that like extra week on there, or that extra 2 weeks, whatever we need. Because yeah, I just can't. Yes. So hang on. Let me find one. Give me just a second. Let me grab. So Dinell's asking about seeing the bottom of the tumbler so she can see how much epoxy is on there. Let me grab one that's already done. Hang on just a second. Okay. So this one is fully done. And I don't know if you can see where the epoxy is right there. And so people have said, well, there's a hump. Yeah, of course there is. Mine's not very big, but of course there's going to be a little bit of hump there because you're piling things on top of the stainless steel. It's 2 layers of glitter, 3 layers of epoxy. It's going to stick out a little bit, but you can see I don't do the epoxy very far down. Hopefully you can see that. So that's what it looks like. And so the bottom is just totally stainless. Hopefully that helps. Y'all, I love this one. This is like my favorite. All right, any other questions? Ooh, excuse me. If this is dry. Yeah, Angie, it's one of my favorites too. I gotta make sure I take a picture of it. I'm trying to find my brush and see if this I brushed off. All right, I wanted to show you this in case. So now it's like really silver. Big difference. Big difference there. So I just brushed off the excess. And so I only have to do 1 coat of glitter on a full white tumbler. How long do I let mine turn? I usually let mine turn overnight or like 6 hours. I probably, like, usually I stop at around 3 or 4 hours and then I pull it off at 6. Yeah, Dinell, I like the way it looks. And so now I don't tape it all the way like at that line. You can tell I have just very little metal because it still feels like it's mostly glittered without having to worry about cleaning up this edge right here, which is the pain. So, oh, Morgan, we can't wait to have you in the group. Angie, thank you. You're so sweet. Can I see the epoxy you used? Sure. This is 1/2 of it, but yeah. So this is part B. It's FX Premium Epoxy. How much do I normally charge to make a tumbler? Prices vary depending on the size of the tumbler and the glitter design, but they usually are on average between $40 and $60. Usually that's what most people pay. So, okay. I do have, I mean, you're not supposed to notice, but yes, I do have a Christmas shirt on from last year's, like Christmas. Gotta call me out. Gosh, I'm just teasing. All right, so to complete a cup from start to finish, if I only work on that cup and that's it, around 5 days. But I have a bunch of orders and I also have other things I have to do. And so it, takes longer than that. Plus I have all these other orders. And so that's why that 4 to 6 week turnaround time is there. I do try to make sure, so I write my due dates on my orders. And so I put the due date around 4 weeks so that's my goal, to get it out by 4 weeks. It doesn't always happen, but it's the goal. Angie, as somebody who teaches people how to make tumblers for, that's part of my job, that's totally up to you and what you feel comfortable doing. But people ask Jennifer Allwood this all the time, and it's totally true. There are 2 types of people out there. There are people who are always going to want to make stuff like this, and then people who don't want to make it, just want to watch and give you their money to make them a tumbler. And so I just decided that I was just going to embrace the teaching people aspect of it. So Heather, your first cup looks streaky. Did you do 2 layers of glitter? And if it's streaky now, it's not going to go away. It could, without seeing it, I couldn't really know for sure. Multiple things it could be. Number one, you didn't do enough, you didn't do a second layer of glitter, or you put too thick of a coat of Mod Podge on there, and so you had ridges, and then that's what you're seeing. If you see it now, you're going to see it in the epoxy. Well, Angie, I think you answered your own question. If you enjoy it, then that means you should do it. Amber, I'll usually let mine sit. So I've had some sitting over there for a while, since Friday. And so I like to give mine 2 days. So technically, like, I could have shipped or today's Saturday. I could have shipped them today, but it makes me feel better to wait, just to be totally sure it's cured. And so I try to give myself 2 days before I ship it. But also depends on the epoxy you're using. All right, so Angela, I don't sand anything until 2 layers of epoxy. And it's normal for you to have a bumpy top rim. And so I sand that too. So even if I've done the epoxy method to apply glitter, I still do 2 layers of epoxy. So it doesn't change anything for me. That's probably why I don't do it. I still do the same amount of epoxy. Rachel, tumblers are the Hog brand from the Stainless Depot. Sorry. Megan, yes. I think that anything is going to be stressful at the beginning when you're not 100% sure like what you're doing, and you haven't had enough practice to really feel confident in your abilities. It does get better if you continue doing it. Stephanie, I've been doing it 2.5 years and I've never reacted to the epoxy. Okay, Heather, if your first coat, if you've only done 1 coat and it's still streaky, that's normal. I did a video, gosh, when was that one? If you go to my video section, the last time you see me doing glitter, I showed an up close of a wine tumbler of what it looked like after the first coat of Mod Podge and glitter, and it's streaky. That's normal. That's why I do 2 coats. So meaning, like, when I say streaky, meaning that I could see glitter and I could see stainless. I think I have like weird hiccups right now. I'm really sorry. All right, so Alumilite does take longer to cure. So when I did Alumilite, I usually waited like 2 to 3 days just to be sure. But I really don't need to wait that long for the FX Premium. I just do because it makes me feel better. So, okay, friends. I know that was a shorter live, but I just kind of wanted to show you the difference between painting and not, and why you should paint. I still think this is a really cool effect, and it's still super pretty. It's just not white. So that's why you need to paint. Yes. Okay. All right, friends. I'm gonna go, and I'm gonna go to bed. But I appreciate you hanging out with me and asking questions, and hopefully you found this helpful. I will see you tomorrow at 8:30. Stephanie, yes, I can add pictures. Tara, I use Rust-Oleum 2X. Looks like this. All right, I hope you all have a good night, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.